Welcome to PsychicBent. My name is Carrie.
And I'm Kim. We are two sisters wanting to help other psychics learn and grow in their abilities and to help educate about spirits, angels, and everything psychic. Welcome back to PsychicBent, everyone. We are so happy that you've joined us today. This episode is going to be, it's actually the end of our second season or our second year of PsychicBent.
Yay!
And I was so, yay, yeah.
Yay.
I was so surprised the last time we did a recording that it was that time where we were coming to the end of 2 years of actually doing the podcast. And I thought it would be a good idea that we check in on ourselves and see how far we've come in our individual developments, what we've learned about ourselves or even each other through the 2 years of the podcast and also through the 2 years of advancing our knowledge in our psychic abilities and what it is that we can do. So, with that being said, welcome back, everybody.
Yes, welcome back.
Well, we dropped our first episode back in March, I think the 4th in 2024. So this episode, if you're in real time with us, is dropping, I think, the 26th of February. So it'll be between the next this episode and the next, when we actually have our anniversary date. And I think it's really been a journey. I know it's been a journey for me.
It was a journey even before the podcast, because when after I gave you that scare you call, like, hey, let's do a podcast, and let's do it on psychic abilities and being classic psychic, and it took months of preparation.
Yeah.
To even get to the stage where we could record. There's a lot of work goes into a podcast, by the way. But coming up with, what do we want to name it? What are we going to call it? How do we want to go with this? We didn't want to just point to one area, because everybody resonates with different things, so it pushed us beyond our boundaries, because we had to think about, there's other beliefs that we need to embrace as well. Whether, and whatever your belief is, or how you feel about psychics, when you first realize and you put a name to what's going on, you have that sense of relief, right, Kim? Like, oh, now I know. Empath. Yes, now I understand. Yeah. But then you have to learn to, now what with it, and it's a long way to go on that path to figure it out. Where am I in my path? Am I even on the right path? Whose path is this? You get to be like so second guessing things, or at least I do. What about you, Kim? Did you second guess a lot?
Oh, I second guess every single day on something.
Still do.
One thing or another. Yeah. Well, for me, whenever we started this, I can honestly say that I had pretty much, I would call it zero knowledge, if not preschool knowledge of psychic abilities or whatever, because of the exposure with you and Julie and what you two were always talking about and experiencing and dealing with on a daily basis. And personally, I never really associated it with myself and what I was experiencing. Now, as far as hauntings, yes, I always believed in that. I had no doubts there as far as that aspect. But there were a lot of things out there that I had no knowledge in, really, on what they were, how they worked, what the belief was on the different religions and everything. It's just been everything that we've talked about has all been new to me. So
yes,
I do think it's really interesting to explore that aspect of yourself and learn.
As you're going through the process of learning, obviously our listeners listen to podcasts, and the point of a podcast is either one, to learn something, or two, be entertained, or three, both.
Right.
Hopefully we're the last one where you're entertained and you're learning something. That is our goal. But you go onto these podcasts, and sometimes, I don't know about you, Kim, but I'm like, I've not heard this one, and I'll be like, no. But then I'll go to another one, and it's all of a sudden like, oh wait, I didn't know that. We gotta research that. I gotta let Kim know, or see what she thinks. And then Kim does this to me. She was like, I was looking at something, and this popped up, and we haven't done this, and so it's kind of, we kind of look at it as Spirit's way of nudging us in the right direction.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you're getting nudged in the right direction as well, listeners. But the thing is, when you listen to these podcasts, and I because we were discussing, let's just talk on this one and talk about our growth and that. I got to thinking, well, we've been doing the podcast for almost 2 years, but you have to stop and how far you've actually come in 2 years, because when you're learning these things, you're not really ticking a box on, I've grown an inch. I've grown 2 inches now in my psychic abilities. You know what I'm saying? It's there was no measurable until you just realize you're doing stuff, using those
Right.
abilities.
Or you realize, oh, I've got that name for that. I've been doing this all along and didn't realize that that's what it was.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of comfort in being able to put a name to something.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
I think our most challenging, or was for me, was at the very beginning when we did the empath series.
Mm-hmm.
Because first of all, I knew I was an empath, but then when you started dialing down into the different kinds of empaths and how they overlayer each other, and that got a little overwhelming for me at first.
No, definitely.
Because then it's like, what, am I a plant empath? Am I this? I know I'm this, but am I also this? And I think that podcast, because we were trying to get all this information into one series, because it was more than one podcast. But
right.
To me, that was a stretching moment in growth, because you really, it was kind of like aha moments. I know I'm an empath, but I didn't know I was that kind of empath. I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, look, I have a 2-for deal. This one and this one. And that does help you to, or help me to adjust, and to not just cope, but to adjust how I work it out when I'm experiencing an empath moment. The whole identifiers. Now it's second nature. Now it's like, yeah, no, that's not mine. That's not mine. And then, and depending on what the emotion is, then you got to start checking in with people. You okay? You okay? You okay?
Yeah.
I mean, with situations today, our sister is moving, and they're downsizing, which is a very common thing at a certain point in your life. You just want to get rid of clutter and, a more simple life. And I called her. I said, look, your anxiety level's through the roof. She goes, I know. I said, yes, I know too. It's like, you need to calm down, because I know your anxiety level's high. That's telling you something. I should know. But as sisters, you pick up more of that than you do spidey psychic stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I knew immediately who it was. I knew immediately it wasn't mine. And 2 years ago, I would have been going, why do I feel this way? Who's around me that feels this way? Not even, fathoming she's in how many states over?
Yeah. Right.
She's in the Midwest. I'm in the North Carolina. That's how you just, now it's just second nature. It's almost like, sometimes the feeling, you just know who it is.
Right. Yeah.
Once you get to that one point where you've worked through the whole, that's not mine. Mine feels different. And almost you learn what yours feels different. Or for me, my empath emotions feel different when they're mine than when I'm picking up someone else's now. And it could just be working through the steps of, is this mine? Is this not mine? Whose is it? And then so now it has 2 different feels for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I am still trying to identify what is that emotion first. And then I have to figure out, well, if there's nothing going on in my life where I should be feeling that emotion, or I'm just sitting here crocheting, I shouldn't be feeling any other emotions but joy,
Yeah.
But if I start feeling off, I've got to figure out, well, what is that emotion first? And then say, okay, well, who does that one belong to? that I know. Usually I know if Katrina's going through something, or if I know she's got something going on in her life, I could say, well, is that something she'd be feeling right now? Probably not. And then I go on to the others, that you or Julie or my husband,
Mm-hmm.
and figure out from there whose it is. A lot of this has really been quite the journey for me because I was overwhelmed with the clairs first before the empath stage, or before the empath series, because the clairs, I had to come to terms with that. Yes, I
You had
was
to admit.
smelling.
You had to
Yeah,
admit.
I had to
you
admit. Yeah,
you were too deep in the closet. You did not want
yeah,
to be like, oh crap,
yeah,
this is me. I am psychic. Oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah. Well, that saying I was psychic didn't come until the empath part. I knew I was feeling those clair things happening, but you know, I've learned so much about myself doing this, and it started with the clairs, that something's, because I consider all this special. I know that I just find that I feel very special by having these gifts, because to me they feel like gifts now.
Yes. They were burdens at a while for you because you didn't understand them.
That, and I didn't feel like I deserved to have the gifts that you guys had. I didn't think I had the gifts that you guys had.
Now, do you think that was because you were the middle child and had the middle child syndrome, or you just didn't want to have the gifts, or just didn't think you had them?
Yes,
It's all of the above.
all of the above, really. I mean,
Yeah.
when you break it all down, yes.
Well, I think a lot of people feel that way there because, like we've said many, many times on the podcast, it's not like Hollywood portrays you as being psychic,
Mm-hmm.
and so when you do have psychic kids, and especially if you've been open your whole life and you've been doing psychic hits since you're little and you really didn't understand what you were doing. I
Right.
just, that can be, once you put a label on it, then you're trying to validate, well, do I deserve it? Because that's kind of the old time religion thing that a lot of people were brought up on is, you don't deserve it, or, that kind of stuff. Does
Right.
that make
Exactly.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think a lot of listeners do feel they don't deserve it, or they really don't have it. We all have moments of where we doubt our abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
mean, I had someone put me on the spot early on in the podcast, like, "Oh, so you think you're a psychic? Well, tell me this." And I was so caught off guard that I froze. It was kind of like,
Mm.
well, what if I can't do this? What if I don't get anything? It was kind of like, and then I had to like, hold on now, just calm down. Just, and I basically told the person, said, well, I'll see what I can do, or what I can get, but Spirit decides what Spirit wants to tell me. And if Spirit doesn't feel that you're coming in a place where the message is going to be served, I might not get anything. So,
Yeah.
and then prefaced it with that, but I told them this is what I got. I'm like, this is what I got. I don't care if it means anything to you or not at this point. I just wanted the conversation to end. Because it was awkward
Yeah.
and put on the spot. And as a young psychic, I don't have a booth at the psychic fair doing readings.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Julie would do. And so to start actually doing readings was a stretch because, it was, you know, like you said, do I really have these gifts? Am I, and they're special. And I think if you treat them like they're special, you're moving from a space of gratitude,
Right.
which always increases, your spirit activity and your psychic activity. But it's, I had a situation a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of funny, I guess. Some people that we're acquainted with, me and my boyfriend, we see them periodically on Friday nights where we go to a certain place to listen to live music. We just enjoy doing that. And it's good people watching. And this is, this guy is real nice, always friendly, goes out of the way to talk. And I don't know how it came up, but I don't know if my boyfriend said something or what. And next thing you know, he's like, oh, so you're psychic. And I'm like, yeah. It was just kind of like, how did we get here to this conversation? And I'm like, yeah. And I was kind of flippant with him, like, yeah, like, who is it? Kind of,
Yeah.
because I was caught off guard, and and you don't know how people are going to respond that you really don't know. It's one thing when someone's actively looking for a psychic they want a reading,
Yeah.
versus, so you think you're psychic, huh? Like, huh?
Someone out in the wild.
Yeah. It's like, well, how'd this topic come up? And so I'm just kind of like, well, yeah. And I said, well, let's talk about that. And I just rattled off a bunch of stuff, and we attended a benefit for a person that has cancer at that particular place we go listen to music on Sunday, and I was talking to someone, and he's like, man, she scared me. And he was, my boyfriend was, she scared me too the first time she did it. And I'm like, scared you? It's like, and I'm like, what? He really said I scared him? Why was he scared? Because then I'm like, did I say something wrong? And it was just, no, he was scared because you were accurate. I'm like, oh, okay. He said it was just kind of scary that you just pull all this stuff out of nowhere and just start, I'm like,
Right.
well, that's what we do. It's like, he asked for it. He started it. Just kind of like, like. But would I have, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have had a supportive boyfriend that likes the fact that I'm psychic.
Oh, that's true.
So 2 years ago, I wouldn't have promoted the fact that I had abilities. And it was funny, as we started this podcast while I was still in that other relationship, and Spirit was very strong about it. So I think in my personal growth as a psychic, I believe this podcast in that time period was to push me to step out of that psychic closet, even though I had one foot totally out and one arm, and you had everything still in. But pushed me to make me move out. And, I during that period, my apothecary friend, Krista, she was just like, so supportive, but she's just like, man, you're like a phoenix. She goes, you came out of those ashes even stronger, and my energy was so much better because I wasn't around someone that I couldn't be myself with. He knew I was psychic, but he wasn't comfortable with it. He thought I was reading his mind and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, whatever, okay. And he knew going in I was psychic. But, when I started showing that I was psychic, then that was different. I think he just kind of thought, and you'll meet people like this, oh, okay, and pat you on the head. She thinks she's psychic, wink, wink. You have friends that you let in to do that, or you start dating into a relationship, and you're going to run into that. Friends or whatever going, oh, okay. I've had friends that, I'm like, well, I'm psychic. And they're like, oh, okay. And then like a year later, they're like, can you do a reading for me? I'm like, no, because I know you. I know your backstory. You need someone who doesn't know you, doesn't know your backstory. That way, you're getting accurate information. You won't know if I'm getting accurate information because I know you. But it's funny how in a year's time, a paradigm shift has happened in that person. And now they, believe in psychics.
Exactly. But, as we talked in other episodes, people are put in your life for a season or a reason.
Yeah.
And he served his purpose at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was time for him to be out of your sphere so you could go into this, let's call it an adventure, because that's what it is.
Yes. And it really pushed us because, Kim and I spent a lot of time before the podcast, before it was even a blimp on the radar, talking about spirituality. Mm-hmm. Kim's the one who turned me on to listening to psychic teachers, because you listen to an episode on astral travel.
Right.
And you're like, you got to check this out because, girl, this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing at night, from what it sounds like. And so we had these conversations, but we kept them in our comfort zone. We didn't go outside of our comfort zone to really research what else is out there.
Right.
So, like that one guy, like I scared that guy, giving him his reading not because, my name's Carrie and there was a movie, but because, what I told him was accurate, and it scared him because he probably didn't believe in psychics or thought I was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Right. Well, he probably believed in psychics, but probably never thought he would meet one.
Well, he's very polite to me when he sees me now. Hi, and limited conversation. So, but yeah, but 2 years ago, I was doing like I would do house cleansings for people that bought a house.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had limited spiritual conversations at work. Because you're not supposed to talk about some things at work just because of employee relations.
Right. Exactly. It's just not appropriate.
Yeah, some things are not appropriate in the workplace. You don't talk politics, you don't talk religion, and they're just you have to know your audience.
Yeah.
And I was talking to this lady that I worked with. I didn't work for. We just kind of worked at the same area, and she's like, "I'm back in the house." I said, "Oh, would you like me to come out and do a house cleansing?" And she goes, "What the heck is that?" And I said, "Well, I walk through, and if there's any negative energy, we want to try to get that out because you don't want residual energy in your new home. You want it to be clean and fresh, and I'll smudge it, and we go from there." I said, if there's anybody there, I'll let you know." And she goes, "What do you mean anybody?" Well, not everybody leaves a place when they move out. It's like,
Yeah.
and she was like, "Okay." I said, "That'd be your housewarming present." And she's like, "Okay." And so, I went to her house, and I mentioned this one before in the podcast, and she had a very upset entity who one of the daughters didn't like the wallpaper in the bedroom and thought it was ugly and hurt her feelings.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm thinking this is just between her and me kind of thing, And I said, "Well, this is what I got, blah, blah, blah. And you got another entity in the garage, and he doesn't belong here." This was her home. She loved it. She died. This is her home. She came back to here. He's a stranger. He just wandered in. And I would suggest we evict him because he really doesn't belong here. And so, we go through this whole thing, I do the smudging and everything. And the daughter came in that didn't like the wallpaper, and the woman knew I could hear her, and got in my face. And that was my first real with somebody else had an entity, because growing up in a haunted house, they didn't really interact with us too much. They made themselves present.
Right.
I never had a conversation with them. I mean, I didn't, just kind of like, "Oh, there you are. Okay. Move on with life." But this was the first time I had that real, she hates my wallpaper. I'm like, "Oh, dang. Okay, she's upset." I mean, it was like right there. And it was the first time I ever had that kind of intense, thing. And I just whipped my head around to that little girl and said, "Did you insult the wallpaper?" And they both, the mother and the daughters, looked at each other, looked at me, and the mother said, "She doesn't like the rose wallpaper." I said, "Well, you have upset the entity," because she loves that wallpaper. And she goes, "Well, I want to paint it black." And I said, "Okay." And I'm like, and so then they were like looking at me like, "How did she know about the wallpaper?" So I guess they might have been humoring me about the ghosts. I don't know. But I'm just like, "Well, this is what she said," And then the mother, the daughter went out of the room. The mother said, could you do a reading for me?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll try." If she stops talking, because the ghost is very upset still, and you guys need to make peace with her. I gave her what they needed to do, but I was just kind of like, okay, this was weird. And so I did a quick reading and got out, and I wanted to get out. I just like, get out, I'm done. I'm in here longer than I wanted to be and dealt with more stuff. Because, I mean, I had to, work through what had just happened.
You've personally had to digest and process what it was that you just experienced. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yes, it was psychic. And, but yeah, and I haven't had that as intense as that woman. I've had it since then, I'm like, okay, but in that moment, it was like, oh my gosh, that really happened. It was just kind of like, oh, well, okay. So I go to work the next day, and someone approaches me that works in the same area, and they're like, "So we heard about your house cleansing at so-and-so's house." I'm like, "Oh," and there's people standing around. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. And she goes, well, how did you do it? I said, do what? She goes, how did you do it? I said, smudging the house with sage? She goes, no. How did you, how were you able to communicate with knowing there were entities there and knowing about the wallpaper? How did you know? And I'm just like, I'm psychic. And she said, well, what's your practice? And I'm like, no practice. I'm just psychic, and she couldn't let go of that. She wanted to know what my practice was, and how I was making it happen. And I'm like, it just happens. I don't know. She even followed me into my office, still wanted to talk about it. And I'm just like, I said, obviously you have your own practice and your own walk, and that's great. Yeah, I said, but I don't. This is just how it is, Like so that she's like, well, I just don't understand. And meanwhile, she has a grandmother that shows up, and I'm like, okay, go away, go away,
Go away.
go away. So it's like, but she couldn't get her hands around, and that kind of made me start to think. When we started doing the podcast, I remember that story. It's like, well, we need to branch out to other practices, what other people do.
Right.
Because that gives better understanding, because she could not understand why I was just able to do it without doing a practice.
Yeah.
And I was having trouble understanding why she thought I had to have a practice, and I did, to do it.
Because she does.
Well, yeah, obviously she did,
Yeah.
But at the time, I was kind of like, can we stop talking about this? I don't want everybody to know that, because finally I just said I'm psychic, because she wouldn't let it go, and people turned around and looked at me, and I'm just like, oh gosh, here we go. Okay.
Well, it was your time to step out, and you were forced out, so.
I was. And, so that's kind of how spirit just keeps like forcing me to do things. Mm-hmm. And we call it getting thumped on the head. We've called it that before.
Right. Once you wanted us to start going that route of researching other practices and whatnot, that was a difficult place for me to go. I didn't know if I was going to be ready for that. And it's just because of preconceived thoughts or whatever, or fear, which we've talked about in an episode as well.
Just not knowing.
Right. The unknown, which is fearful.
Again, it's Hollywood's spin on something too.
Yeah, or just afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
Some of us don't like to get too far out of our comfort zone. We like to ease into those things. But yeah, that was, I think that's a lot of reason why I go all technical, other than, left-braining it more than what I normally would, because, well, left-brained is what I am. But that, in my mind, logically explains things. And then once I understand it, then that takes part of that fear away, and then you learn about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that's, we're kind of brought up to fear the unknown. Mm-hmm. Like religion, I know the dogma of religion is based on fear. Mm-hmm. You're going to go to hell, or
right.
You're going to fire a brimstone. And that's a lot of times we get that, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve this blessing mentality as well. Or I believe that's where it comes from. I could be wrong. It could be just from Carrie's life. That's been my perspective. That's been the perspective in my life. And what's funny is that it doesn't matter what your belief system is. It's if it's serving your purpose and you really feel that is the path you need to be on, and things are going the way you need to, then nothing else matters. If you feel your path is going a different way than you thought originally it was going to, but now there you are, and it's working, that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
No one says you need to put it out on Facebook.
Right. Or any other social media.
Yeah. But, it's just that kind of and sometimes, like you said earlier, you're put on a path that at the time seems like it's going great. And then, like in my experience with the ex-husband, all of a sudden, and that's how it works with me. It seems like I get put on this path, and then suddenly there's a block on it, and the Band-Aid gets ripped off, and I've learned something. And sometimes it's learning to deal with some shadow work, mm-hmm. like we talked about in the last episode. And sometimes it's you were put there to get a little bit of more education on a certain thing. Okay, that person no longer needs to be in your life now. Move on.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But I've told you before, the one story is like, I'm like, okay, and my personal growth, this is of course before the podcast. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to do this practice of removing, anybody that doesn't need to be in my life, and I did the whole thing. And then an hour later, the boyfriend broke up with me. It was like, well, didn't see that one coming, but okay, and what's funny is a few weeks later, he tried to get back together. I don't know why I broke up with you. Okay, I do. It's all right. It's all right.
It's okay. Move along. Move along.
We done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What would you say is the biggest thing that we've researched that really resonated with you? Do you have one that you could just say, or?
Um, oh, there's so many that have resonated with me because of being able to put my name on things, or not my name, but put a name on those things. It's not my name, but I can't put my name on anything as far as this stuff is concerned. But I think that the dream meaning episode that we did, the dreams has probably been the one that has impacted me the most because of the fact that I have always had such unusual, vivid dreams that would even cause me to walk in my sleep, and I would talk in my sleep and such that, and I would have it's just, I think that part really impacted me the most because that's where I'm getting everything from. And that was just like a light bulb for me. It's like, this is all starting to make sense now. If I really need to know or want to know what it is I'm experiencing or what's going on or where do I need to go from here? Why is this being difficult for me? It comes in the dreams and I'm able to go and analyze it and figure out what is the message I'm receiving, which makes me feel special. I know everybody dreams, but I mean, that is something that I am really grateful for
Mm-hmm.
because it's really amazing how far the psychic development, studying your dreams, the different things that we've gone through, how that also relates to mental health issues or psychological issues that you may be having, your self esteem issues, and everything else like that. They kind of come together. And I feel like I've changed. So, and I think the dream meanings, interpretations that I've been having, I'm able to do from the study that we did on it, has really had a big impact on that for me.
And do you find that your dreams have evolved?
Yeah, I would say so. I find myself remembering dreams from the past and analyzing those too. I don't just deal with the ones that I have nightly, but I find that I go back and analyze the ones from the past, and it's really been eye opening, because it shows that I have been receiving messages from spirit and ancestors and such for a very long time and didn't realize that's what I was getting. I would get comfort and warnings, stuff like that in dreams. I knew that was happening, feeling comfort after a dream or feeling anxious or nervous or scared after a dream, and never really put it all together that I was
Mm-hmm.
getting warnings or until it happened. That's how I knew I was also getting warnings and signs that something was going to happen until it happened. Hence the deja vu.
Yes. And when you're developing your abilities, you're more you're ready to identify what is going on. That is a premonition.
Yeah.
But at first it's just kind of like, well, that was a interesting thing. That's kind of deja vu. But then when you start delving into it, especially if you're keeping a dream journal,
Right.
and you're now things are lining up.
Yep.
And I think that the more that you line things up, whether it's dream interpretation or working with your tarot cards or whatever it is, the more it lines up, the more spirit's going to give you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, when we were talking, we did the episode on spirit guides,
Mm-hmm.
and all and the spirit guides and the different levels, the hierarchy.
Right, the hierarchy.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting because, I've had different voices talk to me throughout my life. It wasn't always the same voice.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's how they spoke, like, you better slow down. It was almost like a fun joking thing. You better slow down. And then, yes, then the police officer pulled me over. Because I
Yeah.
didn't slow down. It's just interesting. I thought that was interesting because you can have so many guides.
Yeah, definitely.
You have the one that's with you always, and you have the ones that come and go as you need them. And I like the fact that I could call on, whoever I need at this moment to help me with this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That gives comfort because I'm not trying to think of the perfect words I need to say for help.
Yeah.
Like, all right, whoever does this, I need you to show up because this is what I need right now. This is what I feel I need right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen, better results doing things like that. I think,
Mm-hmm.
well, maybe not better results, I'm seeing results.
Yeah. I also enjoyed the spirit animal one because I'm always seeing animals,
Oh, I know.
whether outside my door or in my dreams. There's animals for something
You
everywhere.
have
Just had
you
a
have a yeah, you have a lot of deer in your dreams.
oh all the time. Yeah,
Yeah,
dreams and
yeah.
squirrels have been the thing now. A
Ooh,
lot of
shiny.
squirrels. Yeah. So
Well, I've never understood the T-Rexes in your dreams.
I I don't either. I
Kim
still
Kim
haven't gotten that yet.
yeah, Kim dreams of dinosaurs.
Yes, I do dream of dinosaurs because there's been more than T-Rex. Well, there's a T-Rex, but there's always other dinosaurs too, but that's the pronounced one is the T-Rex, and I don't understand it.
You'll figure it out though.
I'll figure it out one day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we had to do the dream meaning episode because Kim has. I mean, I thought I had some out there dreams. She surpasses me on that. I mean, the whole pocketbook and the toilet thing. That dream that was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I have some weird ones. And at the time it doesn't seem weird when you're dreaming it. You're like, "Oh gosh, not again." Kind of thing.
My pocketbook's in the toilet again. Let me reach in and get it.
Got to reach in and get that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's really been interesting learning everything that I've learned, and I don't realize how much I've learned until I go back and actually look at the episodes that we've done and listened to the episodes that we've done, and I'm like, wow. I mean, well, just like the psychic working I had where I was working on an Afghan for somebody, which I know we've talked about this on the episode, and I was repairing it, and I felt bad I wasn't going to be able to restore it to functional. It was just going to be a display piece. It wasn't going to be
It was
able to
pretty
be a functional
fragile.
piece. Yeah, yeah. The yarn was really getting rotten in a lot of places, but it was an older Afghan as well. And the whole time I was working on it, there was a woman there with me telling me, "You better be careful. You're going to mess it up. Don't mess it up. Be careful." I mean, the whole time I'm like, I'm trying to be careful. It'll be okay.
You just let
Just
me.
trying to.
We just let me do this.
You're making me nervous now. I'm doing the best I can. Just help me through it. And then once I gave it back to Carrie, because it was for Carrie's, well, Carrie got it from someone for me to work on him for him, and it was a display piece, and she told him about it, and they wanted to know, well, what did the lady look like, and I told them, and that was my first experience with it being the person that they knew. It was my first psychic experience, I guess, a medium experience, whatever we
It was
want to
your
call
it
it.
was your first time you made someone cry.
I did. I was glad I wasn't person to person when that happened, but
I was glad somebody else made someone cry for a change. It's like, you don't cry.
yeah, but after that it was just like, wow, I did it, huh? I really, really did it. It was
Yeah.
just it was just a really good feeling afterwards to know that, she was there keeping me on the track and making certain I didn't mess it up. But it was a really interesting moment, a really good moment for me because, you think you do all this work, and what are you doing all this work for? Why am I doing all this besides to put out information for everybody else to learn? But I was actually having a good experience based on what I've learned, and it was good. It was,
And you didn't expect it.
and I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
wasn't. We've been having, we always talk about, we have the people that, spirits that come home with my bonus kid. Things happen in our house, and I have to do a cleansing every once in a while because something new has been brought into the house from Goodwill or whatever, and it's has someone attached to it, and I have to shoo them out of the house. That stuff I'm used to because it happens all the time. But to actually know that I've had an interaction with someone who's passed, and know that that person knows who I was talking about, that was pretty neat. It kind of validated things.
Yeah. And it helps you, not ego, but it helps you because you have validation.
Right.
And that helps you realize that, you know what, I am on the right path because I am growing.
Exactly.
And just because your path is your path, it doesn't mean it's going to be somebody else's path either. That's why we try to, talk about different things, on the podcast. And I know not every episode's going to resonate with everyone. I mean, it can't. It doesn't with me in another podcast. So it's like,
Yeah.
because, some things you're meant to hear and some things you're not ready to hear.
True. Or you'll never be ready to hear it. It just,
Yeah.
something that's just won't ever resonate with you in this lifetime. So,
Yeah. And I honestly believe that this podcast would never have happened with Mom still alive. I think her transitioning, it just kind of, because I could see her, and it kind of made it to me more of I knew it was okay to pursue the psychic abilities. I knew it was okay.
yeah.
And I think that was her giving that kind of, it's okay.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, because she believed in the psychic abilities. She was, I always thought it was funny that if, Julie got something, she'd ask me, did you get the same thing? And I'm like, oh, do you believe or not? It's like, why are you fact checking with me? Because we do different stuff. We read
Right,
different
exactly.
things. No one is right and wrong there. It's just different.
Mm-hmm. And I was always like, well, the aliens did it. So,
Yes, it's aliens. I think I floored Mom because she was around us all the time growing up. So whenever we were doing stuff and didn't know what we were doing, she had to be like, going, okay,
yeah.
So when we went looking, when Dad, Mom, and I went to Johnson City, Tennessee, to look for great grandpa's tombstone, and she couldn't find it, and I kept staring at this one, and I'm like, why are there two in one, Dad? And he's like, well, I said, over there is two tombstones in one. Why are there two in one? And he looked at me weird, and he walked over, and he's like, oh, Carrie found your grandfather. But and I said, and I just said, Mom, so why are there two headstones here? She's like, there's not two. And the one headstone was broken, and we were going to fix it. It was like a metal tombstone. I'd never seen a metal tombstone before. And I said, no, Mom, it's not that. There's two. And she goes, oh, because there's a baby buried here too. I said, in the same grave. She goes, yeah, that's how they used to do it. I said, okay.
Yeah.
So I think at that point, I kind of got her attention on, well, something's going on here, because I didn't know there was a baby
Right.
there too.
Yeah.
It's just two graves in one. There's two tombstones. Why there's two tombstones? And there weren't physically two tombstones. It was like,
Well, with three girls, she just was excusing everything as one of the others of us did it. It was never, I think that she didn't have to face or see that things were happening to us that wasn't related to you or me or Julie. It was spirits that were interacting with us.
yeah.
She just always wrote it off as, oh, one of you other girls did it. That was Kim and her sleepwalking. I got a lot of that.
You got to blame for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Darn sleepwalking sister.
Things that happened at night I got blamed for, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but Mom, the hand wasn't attached to anything.
Exactly.
How could she do that?
Oh gosh. Funny. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it probably wouldn't have developed.
I felt a shift, and I knew, like, okay, when she's gone, my psychic stuff's gonna amp up.
Yeah.
And it could have just been, that whole you don't want to be out of the closet. I mean, Mom was gonna love you regardless, because Julie was out in the open psychic.
Yeah, true.
So it's not like, I mean, she's the one she was the first one out, so she did the hard part.
Yep.
It's just, this is what I am, and this is what's going on, and this is what I'm going to do. Mom just went with it. But it's that
Yeah.
whole, what if she's not happy with it? What if the what ifs
Yeah.
that we all
What ifs,
get
yep.
when we're starting out to develop our abilities.
The fear of being judged.
What is she going to think?
Yep.
Yeah. Is she going to accept it? Because not everybody was accepting as Mom.
True. That's true.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, it's really hard to pinpoint one thing, for me in the whole development, because it seems like each one was a stepping stone of some sort.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The candle magic really resonated with me for some reason. It did. Still does.
Mm-hmm.
Still does. And when I did my cord cutting, I went and bought the cord cutting candles that already had the cord on it and everything, and had oils and stuff already on it, because I was unsure, how to do it the correct way. And there is no correct way. It's kind of your personal beliefs and what your, what your path is. But I nearly burned the house down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those flames started shooting 3 feet high, and they wouldn't go. I mean, so I'm like carefully, don't catch on fire, getting it outside on the porch, and it would not go out. It would not go out. It just kept reigniting. At one point, there were 3 flames.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's like, all right. And then the flames were dancing. I mean, I took a video and sent it to Kim and Jill. I'm like, what the heck? Going on here? It's like, but it was working.
Yeah.
And there was a 3rd flame. So there was a 3rd person
Mm-hmm.
in the cord cutting.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was Spirit's way of showing me that there was a 3rd person.
Yep.
Preparing me and like, well, we just did that cord cutting and it's really got severed now. I mean, it would just not quit burning. It was, and usually, once you get past the actual cord itself that's cut, and sometimes if one burns faster than the other, you're looking at someone's moved on in the relationship, someone hasn't.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like if you're doing the cord cutting and your candle is not burning as quickly as the other, then you're the one who's probably the problem. You're not ready to do that cord cutting.
Right. Exactly.
But if the other one burns a lot faster and there's no crazy wind or anything accelerating it on one side, they've moved on. Let it go.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I learned out of candle magic was it was a way of release. And to me, it showed, I mean, when I was doing all this things that candles don't normally do,
mm-hmm.
Type behavior. And I'm like, oh, this is really, there's something to this.
Yeah.
This is, it got my attention, because I mean, everything we research, I figure there's something to it. It may not resonate with me, but there's something to it. And that when I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, so I do my cord cutting sparingly. I do it when I really feel it needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And cord cutting isn't necessarily mean just for a romantic relationship. It could be just a friendship that needs to just go away.
Right.
So, but the candle magic was I think one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. That was quite an experience there.
Yes, just don't burn your house down.
Just don't burn your house down. I liked also doing the one about auras, and sorry, but that was one that you weren't involved in. And But that one resonated so much with the colors because I see them. That
Yes.
excited me and helped me understand it better as to why I was seeing these colors around people and stuff. So that one was really, that one I really got a lot out of, especially when I found out you don't see auras around people.
I've seen color around two people. That's it.
That's it.
I saw red around one person. It was just like that. Someone took a red marker
Mm-hmm.
and outlined them, and then the white one. I saw, and that's been the only time I've ever seen auras.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, oh, this is weird. But like I said, it doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
So but you're more in tune to that.
Right. It's one that I really got to learn a lot. So I that was one I think I enjoyed a lot. It explained a lot. Well, every episode it seems like it explains a lot to me. I know I'm always saying that I'm learning, or I'm trying, because it just amazes me at how much information is out there and what we don't know, what I don't know, and how it does impact my life, and how some of the stuff I really have, some of these things I really have experienced, and it explains things, and it's just such light bulb moments. Gives a lot of purpose to your life, whenever you are realizing these things around you that you're doing and that they're helping you grow as a person.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough grace to acknowledge that. Good job. You have grown in your abilities, and you've grown in your knowledge with your psychic abilities, and great job.
Yeah.
And sometimes we are just going through life and not realizing what we're actually doing while we're going through life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that anytime you can recognize a psychic moment is a big breakthrough.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I just did that, or why did I know that? Okay,
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, I bought a house that's a fixer-upper. I brought that up before, and had an old washing machine in there that still has clothes in it. So I wanted it out of the house because I don't,
Yes.
it needs to be out of the house. So it's currently outside the house at the driveway. It's supposed to be hauled off, but it still hasn't gotten hauled off yet. But it's supposed to be getting hauled off. The washer door is propped open a little bit. So a bird came flying out of there as I was walking by, and I screamed. And I'm like, ah, And my boyfriend starts laughing and goes, "You talk to dead people, that doesn't scare you. A bird flies out of their washing machine, that scares you." I said, "Yes." Dead people aren't scary. It's like, I didn't know the bird was doing.
They just don't jump out at you like that. Birds coming out of, who would have thought a bird coming out of the washer?
I'm like, it's not the time of year to be building a nest. I'm like, what are you doing in there? But yeah, I screamed, and he just, you can talk to dead people, and that doesn't scare you. Okay. The little wren. Yes, the wren scared me.
The wren is building a home. Sorry.
I know. Well, which means that washing machine needs to go away.
Exactly. You don't want other things building nests in there in the bottom side.
No. But I was just so desperate to get out of the house. It's like, no, I just got to go.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not much smudge in my house to take care of this.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But 2 years in, I think I am proud of the work that I've done for myself, on myself, and with my beliefs and such. I think I've come a long way. I know I'm still not out of the closet all the way, but I feel like I've done a good job. I really do.
Well, yeah, and you may be in where you need to be on your journey at this point in your life.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, when I was looking for a house to buy, I'd send Kim a picture and stuff, and then she'd be like, "Oh, I don't think you got to go in there." And then I go back and look at the pictures. Oh, I didn't see that to begin with. Well, Kim's daughter is wanting to buy a house in the market, and Kim's looked at a couple, and she goes, "You go on ahead. You all go look at that."
I'll stay here.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. And they still go, and I'm like, Okay, that was a clue, gang.
Yeah.
There's things in the house. She can tell without even being in the house.
Considering the first one we went to look at. Oh, it was interesting. It was an interesting place, and the brother of the owner was there. He was following us around the whole house, and I'm talking about he has passed. So it was his spirit was following us around the whole house. And we get home and strange things just start happening throughout the house, and I'm like, "Oh no." Well,
Who brought him home?
which one of you brought him home? Because I said stay there, and they brought him home. I was like, ah! So I had to clean the house. Oh, clear the house on that one. That was, and things went back to normal after that. And
Yep.
they would go to the ones when I'd say, okay, you have fun with that, or I can't look in that room, guys. And they're like, well, what's wrong with it there? And I'm like, nope, you shouldn't go in there.
Yep. I had a friend of mine when she was buying a house. And the market's so horrible. It has been for years that the houses get snatched up.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly, and so it makes it difficult when you're trying to find a place to live. Like, oh my gosh. And she was telling me about there was 3 houses, and I said, and I said, well, don't go with the one that has the room under the basement steps. And she stopped and looked at me. She goes, I didn't show you any pictures of the houses. I said, I know. Don't go with the one that has the room underneath the steps. And she goes, well, I looked at that one and I did not like the room underneath the steps. I said, there's a good reason. Don't go with that one. It's like, but she was just like, I didn't show you anything. I said, I know.
You
Don't
didn't have
go
to.
with
Yeah.
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 And she still ended up buying a haunted house.
Yeah. Of course.
Just not that one. Like, not that one.
There's so many out there that are haunted,
Yeah.
just because they're
Yeah. Doesn't mean it's bad haunting.
right. Just the former homeowners are so in love with their houses that they come back and visit, or they just
Yeah.
didn't want to transition completely because they were enjoying their
Yeah.
place. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had a guy wander in the other night,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was harmless. He just, said a few things, and I'm like, okay, bye. Shoot, you got to go. You don't belong here, and he left. It's just like,
Yeah.
and I had one say washer, and I'm like, that washer's not coming back in the house. The new washer.
Your clothes are out at the corner or out at the curb.
Out at the curb. Go help yourself. And you might have to share with a bird.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah. So I think that with doing the research has helped us grow personally, psychically, and I'm happy with how things have been going, and how they've been working out. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years.
I know. I thought it was just a year until
know.
I really looked back and went, oh, wait, it's been 2.
So you started doing math.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do appreciate you listeners, and listening to our podcast and everything, and those that have given us input and shared their stories with us. It really means a lot.
It does. It really does. And we thank you so much.
Yes, we do. Kim, is there anything else you might want to add?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you, Psychic Bent listeners. Bye.
Bye. May your light shine bright.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Psychic Bent. If you enjoyed Psychic Bent, please like, follow, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. We can be reached on Facebook at PsychicBent Podcast. Our email address is psychicbent1@gmail.com. May your light shine bright.